All right, so here we are in Cloud Dataprep. And what I want to focus on right now is on the left-hand side menu here. You can see three main sections. The first one is flows, we have libraries, and we have jobs. So let's go through each one. So library is going to be where we import our CSV files into local datasets inside our cloud. Then we're going to go to the flow section where we can build recipes to take those data sets and create the refined data that we want. And after defining those flows, we can run those recipes and those flows. And each time that we run a flow, it will create a job in the job section. Let's start with the library. So in the library, I can see all my imported data sets, and for now I just have one, but we're going to click on the import data button, and I go to a new page where I have three options on the left: upload from a local file, get a file from Google Cloud Storage, or go in BigQuery. For now, we will choose a local file, and I will upload my CSV file that I have on my computer, which is my monthly e-commerce sales data. Double click on this, and it's uploading now. If I were to choose another option, I could go in Google Cloud Storage, and I will see it will list all the buckets that I have on Google Cloud Storage. I can go in a bucket and choose a file to import, or I could go in BigQuery, click on BigQuery, see all the datasets that I have in my project. I can click on a dataset and choose the table that I want to import. You can see on the right-hand side here that our dataset was finished uploaded. So I will click on import, and our CSV file now is a dataset that I can use to create my recipes. So I can go to the flow section, and I can see I have one flow called data preparation and a folder called monthly where I can store as many flows as I want. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I will go and create a flow, and we will call it e-commerce dashboard and click create. So now we have our flow view, and I will start creating this flow by adding a dataset. And I will select the dataset that I imported, click add. I get some kind of preview on the side with the type, which is, it was imported in Google Cloud Storage, the location, etc. And I will click on add new recipe, and we will create a recipe for this file, for this dataset. I will call my recipe cleanup, because every time that I import a new data, the first recipe of my flow should always be to make sure that the data is clean. And I will go ahead and click on edit recipe. So it will load my data and usually take a sample of 10,000 rows. And you can actually change this. If you have millions and millions of data, you might want to create your sample, targeting or filtering specific rows. Now I will create, and I have 10,000 rows. So on the interface here, what you can see is a preview of your data, and you can scroll on the bottom to look at all your columns, and you can scroll on the right to go through the rows. Each column was with a name, purchase device, purchase ID, etc. You can see that it's been auto-detected. This one is a string, this one is a string, and it detected that my purchase date is a date, and it detected the format. Also, you can see estimations of what's in your data. So it says that I have 48% of my devices that are desktops, 40% that are mobile, and about 10% that are tablets, which is really useful and are going to be useful to see kind of a summary of our data. So let's go through those columns. We have the purchase IDs, have the different dates, have the purchase statuses with delivered, canceled, refund date, available, etc. I also have the payment methods with Visa, American Express, PayPal, MasterCard, Discover, and we can see we have MasterCard again, but this one has a high case C and this one has a lowercase c, so we'll fix that in a bit. We also have the delivery modes, FedEx Ground, etc., shipping dates, the zip code, the name of the city, shipping region, which is our USA state, shipping country, which is USA, the store categories, because I have categories in my store, and we have the product ID, but you can notice here that product IDs have spaces in them, so we will fix that. Product quantity, the unit price, and we have the civility with Miss and Mr. and Miss in different type of orthographs, so we'll fix this. User ID, gift, is it a gift or not? Email host, and you can see there that you have maybe gmail.com with high case and low case, so we need to fix it. And we have an extra column which is empty, so we're going to fix that as well. So we can take this extra column number 21 and delete it. And what happened? Well, it disappeared, but it's part of our recipe. So I can click on the top on the recipe button, and here I will get a list of all that all the steps in the recipe that I created. So I have a recipe, I have the step here, which is delete, and maybe I want to add a new step, such as a comment, and I can type comment, click on comment, and maybe I want to say removed column 21, and it was empty. So this is just a simple example of comments, but sometimes when you do especially complicated steps, it's good that you explain what they do. So if you collaborate with many users, everyone can follow along your recipe to know why you did what you did. But of course, this is an easy example. You might also want to move columns around. And for example, my purchase ID might be the first column that I want at the beginning of my file. So you can create steps on clicking on new steps in the recipe tray on the right, but you can also see this little thing on the top right of each column where I can click and I can say maybe I want to move this column to the beginning. And it will move to the beginning. It will create and edit the recipe, the steps are in the recipes, and I can click add, and I see that inside my recipe section here, I have delete, I have my comment, and I have a new step, which is the move step. So I can create many steps, but I'll do just a few for us right now. I will click on new step, and maybe I want it to fix with something called a formula. So I will go here and go formula, and I will go actually and choose edit with formula. And I wanted to fix maybe my purchase devices because I want them to have a nice name, and maybe in the formula I want to have a lowercase on this column. So if I want to call this column, I do $call for column. And you can see here on blue is what you had before, the source, and the preview, that's what you did. So you can see that desktop in high case became lowercase. So you can put something in high case, in low case, or I like to put it in what's called proper case. And in proper case, you have the first letter, which is a high case, and the rest, which is a low case, which is pretty nice. And I can apply this formula to the column for purchase device, but I can also apply it to the other one that I wanted. For example, payment method. And if I scroll, I can see that my payment methods were modified, and I had before as a source 8 categories with, for example, 2 MasterCards and 2 different orthograph for MasterCard. And then I have 6 categories, which means that it fixed and it's kind of merged the 2 different types of MasterCard. So I did that for purchase device. I did that for payment method. And I can do that for a few other columns, such as, oops, I have a little error here. So I can do that also for the delivery mode. So I get something that will be maybe a little bit nicer to display on my in my dashboard. I can add this step to the recipe, and there's a few other things that I wanted to fix. One of it was the email that I wanted as a lowercase. So I can right click here and say, well, maybe I want to format this and convert it to lowercase. If I do that, I get 856 different categories into 656. So it's merged the high case Gmail and low case Gmail into one single category. So I will add that. And we also said that we wanted to fix here our product IDs. So maybe I can say that I want to edit with a formula my product ID, and maybe what I want to do is replace, or we can do it another way actually, that's better. So I can right click here and I can do replace, and I can choose text or pattern, which means that I will replace the pattern that I find, which is just space in between 2 quotes, and I replace it with, well, two quotes with no space. And you can see in the source that you have a space that disappeared. But the problem here is I had multiple spaces and I only removed one. So I can go on the right hand side to advanced options. We have a few options and we can say that I want to match all of the spaces. And if I click add, then it removed all of the spaces inside inside my ID. So now I want to do a last one that is a little bit more advanced. So we're going to do a new one and do a new formula. And maybe what we want to do is extract from the gender civility, the Mr. and Mrs., etc. We want to extract if it's a male or a female. So in the formula, there's a lot of different formulas that you can browse clicking here, so you can see them all and see how you can transform your data in so many ways. But now I would do just an if then else. So I can say if client civility equals to maybe Miss, then I'm going to say it's a female. Otherwise, I can say it's a male. And if my formula is correct, so I add quotes around Miss, then it will show me the source and the preview column that we're going to call client gender. And I can actually go a step further because now I only took Miss MISS, but I forgot MRS dot and all of the other formats. So what I can do is embed a formula in a formula, and we're going to add a formula called match. I'm going to say matches. I want to match client civility, and you can match it in many different sorts of fancy ways. And I will use one called regular expression, where I can say Miss, or with a pipe character, MRS or MS, maybe dot. And I can add many ones, and you'll see that it will leave Mr. as male and all the different types of Miss as female. I can add that. And we have now our transformation with a bunch of steps, and you can add as many steps as you want. For example, with group bys, and you can do different mathematical formulas if you need with numbers, and that's really powerful. So now we can go back to our flow. And in this flow section, you can take your recipe and take your flow and decide maybe that you want, if you click on ... here, decide to schedule it. So with this functionality, you can maybe run it weekly or hourly or daily or whatever. But for now, we're not going to do that. We're just going to click on our recipe, and we want to run it as a job. So we will run job. So we check that we have destinations, create CSV, and we can go on the right-hand side and click edit. And we, by default, it will create a CSV, but maybe you want to add another destination. I can click add. In here, I can choose BigQuery to create a BigQuery table, and I can select my dataset in BigQuery, and I have all the tables in this dataset, and I can create a new table. New table, I can put e-commerce data as the name of my table, and choose if I want to create a new table every run, or if I want to append the data, truncate the data, drop the table. We have a bunch of options. Once I've chosen what I want to do, I click add, and I see that it will create a CSV in Google Cloud Storage, and it will create a table in BigQuery. Once I'm happy with this, I save my settings, and it will go back to the flow view, and now I can run my job. So I will click on run job. It will show me a recap of my settings. I confirm that I want to run my job. And once we have that, it's going to run on the background in the cloud. So we imported our dataset, we created our flows, creating recipes in the flow, and I can go to the job section and to look at the job that worked, that failed or not, and I can go and see that the current job that I launched is in progress. So we're going to leave that run, and we're going to see the result in Data Studio. And a little bit like cooking showed with data recipes, you go all the way back to the final product. And we have here in Data Studio a nice dashboard with a scorecard with the number of orders, the different bar charts, maps, and pie charts. And you can see on the top here that we have different filters that allow to filter my data. So I can see how many desktop, mobile, and tablet. And I can click on, I can actually check and uncheck each one of them as I wish. And I see that it will impact, for example, here, my scorecard. And I can also take my date and click in this nice calendar view, apply, and it will filter my data and show me my data. And actually, if I go over my map, it will show me the detail for each of my states. And that's really powerful and that's great, but let me show you how you can edit this in no time. So I can go on the top and click on the edit button. And once I do this, if I click on any of the charts, such as the scorecard, I see a detailed view on how to configure it. And I can easily, if I do Control-C, Control-V, and I copy it, I can create a duplicate in no time. So now let's modify this duplicate for the scorecard. I see the data source has been selected, so it's selected in BigQuery. I see that the date range is selected with my field, but the metric is my number of orders, and maybe I want to see my revenue. So if I want to switch that, I see on the right-hand side all my available fields. Maybe I know there's one with a price. I drag and drop it on metrics. And here it says unit price. So maybe I want to switch this. Click here and I put revenue. And when I validate this, now I have a scorecard with my orders and my revenue. Let's switch another few charts. I can click on my map and I have I have the data on the state level. Maybe I want it on the city level. So same thing here. I have all my available fields in BigQuery. I click maybe on city and I will replace my dimension, which is shipping region, with shipping city by dragging and dropping it. And it automatically plugs to BigQuery, gets my data, and update my map with my cities. And we will modify again a pie chart. I will copy Control-C, Control-V this pie chart. And instead of showing my purchase status, maybe I can show my delivery mode. I will copy again this pie chart and we're going to show one field that we created ourselves, which is my gender. And I'm ready to view, so we'll click on the top on view. And the final result is this, which is a nice dashboard and super easy to create. And that's actually really useful for us now because with Data Studio, it's actually interactive. So for example, if I see my bar charts and I see my revenue for each week, I can click on week 24 and you will see that all the data behind it is refreshed and I have 2,000 orders in week 24. And maybe if I want to say, if I want to see the one that were done by mails, I can click on mail and it updated. And if I want to see the one in New York, maybe I can go on the map and I click on New York. And now I know that I had 56 orders on week 24 in New York by mails. And that's super easy. And you can combine and create unique queries and unique ways of seeing your data. So I hope you're quite happy because I think that this is great. And with the power of the cloud, BigQuery, your data preparation with Cloud Dataprep and Data Studio, we have an amazing dashboard that you can create so easily for you and your team to take better decisions.